Welcome, everybody, to the Real Dealz podcast, one of the top-ranked real estate investing podcasts for the last 7 years. This is the place to be for investing strategies you can actually use, expert interviews, and, of course, some good old-fashioned entertainment. Now, here's your host for the show, Elliot, the REI guy, Smith.
What's going on, Real Dealz podcast listeners? I'm coming at you from sunny Naples, Florida, and it's nice. Really, really nice. Chrissy and I are on a 3-week excursion with Monty all over Florida. We started in Miami for a couple days. We flew into, I think, Fort Lauderdale, then Miami for a couple days, and then we drove down to Key West. Spent about 8 days there. We were there with my parents. Were there for about most of the time with us. And then yesterday we drove up from Key West up to Naples, and on the way up we stopped and saw the tarpon, got some lunch, then we just kind of kept hitting it right through, and man, we couldn't believe how different this state is. So from Miami area to Naples, most of it's like swamp, this forest swampland. Chrissy and I were like, man, could you imagine getting lost in there? It's so different than Washington State. Like in Washington, maybe you have to worry about bears or a cougar. And I'm guessing in there you have to worry about alligators and snakes. And I saw they have their panthers in there. Like they're kind of endangered, but they have panthers in there. So then we get to Naples and it was getting dark, but we were driving around and we're like, this place is nice. Like if you haven't been to Naples, I was like, this is nice. I'm like, are we in Scottsdale? Because that's one of our favorite spots to go. And then we started driving around some of these neighborhoods and we're like, whoa, that house is awesome. That house is awesome. And then we go to the beach and it was dark, but we're like, this is what a real beach is supposed to be like, because Key West didn't have any beaches. So pretty cool, excited. We got a couple days here. Then we're gonna go hang out with our friends Jay and Carol in Sarasota. And then on Sunday, we're heading to Orlando to go to Disney World for a couple of days, 3 days, and then we'll be back next week. So yeah, it's been fun, and we've been working the entire time. So we have, out of the last 90 days, we're on like 45 days of vacation traveling so far. And it's kind of been challenging in the sense where setting proper expectations with your spouse is really hard. So Chrissy does a lot in the business, but some of her stuff is not like needed right away. Like her stuff is like the maintaining, the managing of all the rentals, does our finances, our flips. She manages our contractors for all the rental turnovers. A lot of things that can be done that doesn't have to be done right now. And so a lot of my stuff has to be done right now. So like we're moving, we're shaking. I got deals going. So last week I was raising money for a 63 lot townhome development, which we ended up oversubscribing the $1.5 million raise, only for it to kind of fall apart at the last minute. And then I put it back together, and then we decided to walk on it. But I was up because those guys were on the West Coast. And so I was up in the car at like 1:30 in the morning trying to put these deals back together when guys were, after they had put their kids down to bed. So doing that, and then I have the call center going on, and I'm trying to handle clients with that, and lead flow has been picking up really, really good the last week. Like we were last week in February, we're averaging like 2 to 3 leads a caller a day, and yesterday we were up to like almost 6 leads per caller for the day on average. And so we're like, yes, we're getting it. We have a couple guys that made $100,000 with some leads with us. One of them was a wholesale, Mike DeHaan, who's been on the podcast. He tied up a piece of dirt up in Spokane, made $100K on that in like 3 weeks. And then we have a guy that's started brand new with us back in November, and he's got like 4 deals that he's bought from Call Magic already up in the Massachusetts area. And the first one, he made $100K on a $650 sales price, and that was a Call Magic lead. And so guys are really starting to kill it with us. My lead flow is picking up in our business. I've been pushing forward our 24 unit, which I've never done Freddie or Fannie financing before. And if you haven't done it, it's so different. So we got quoted from a credit union that we had just closed that 8 unit with, and back in December. They were 30-year AM, 4% interest. They could get a little bit lower on the interest, 1 point recourse, and 5-year resets. So if you don't know what 5-year resets mean, that means the interest rate resets every 5 years based on where the treasury yield is. So I think it's at 3. The treasury Fed funds rate right now is at like 3.25. So usually they're adding something on top of that. It's called prime plus. So the Fed funds rate right now is at like 3.25. So, but then I was like, we had time, we were shopping it. So we talked to a broker, and then we started diving into Fannie and Freddie, and that's a different world. So if you're looking at financing, Fannie and Freddie, they have this, what they call small balance or small cap loans. And so that's under $7 million. And so we're only asking for a loan for 1.525 million. And when we did the 8 unit with the credit union, they wanted so much stuff on us. Like, it was more borrower driven, not property driven. Like, I felt like I was having a colonoscopy with all the stuff they wanted, just to make sure that we were safe and my partners were safe and secure borrowers. Well, Fannie and Freddie is way different. They only care about the asset. Like, they want to make sure your net worth is equal to the purchase price. And so that's fine. I have one partner in this deal, so we were totally fine there. But other than that, they didn't really want anything from us. They just really cared about the property. So we got them. We have a 30-year AM, 10-year lock with 2 years of interest only. So if we were in like Seattle or a tier 1 market, we could have done interest only for 3 years, even probably longer. But since this is in Tri-Cities, it's a tier 2 market, they only want to do interest only for 2 years. But the cool thing about that, I've done some interest only loans on single families before, and they worked really well. So this puts the debt service coverage ratio of this deal at like 2.25 for the first 2 years, and then it drops down to like 1.8, 1.9. So we're really good. We're in a really good position on the deal, and we're not like getting a great deal on it, but it's just a good solid apartment complex. And so, but it allows you to cash flow. We're going to cash flow like $90K a year on this deal with the interest only. And then once it drops back down, so our payments are going to be with the interest only like $53,000 a year. Once we go back to off interest only, we're going to go to, I think it's like $80,000 a year. And then, so it allows you to really cash flow on that property really quickly, and it's non-recourse. So in case the world goes to shit, it's non-recourse. So they care about the asset a lot more because it's non-recourse. So they're like, if we have to take this back, is this a performing asset? And so the asset works for that. So we're learning a ton about that. And I'm really excited because I'm like, man, this just opens up so many more opportunities to go find apartments. And what I'm really starting to realize in the last 60, 90 days is going upstream is not that much harder. So I think Tucker's talked about this a lot, you know, when he went from rehabs to new constructions and then to luxury new construction. Like, it's actually easier doing the new construction process than a rehab. And going upstream with these other deals, it just seems so much more simple. Like, you're dealing with a higher level professional, and everything's just based off numbers. So it's pretty exciting, pretty eye-opening. We've also just closed on a flip. I think I talked about it. It was a probate that I bought we closed on it back in like October in Richland. We bought it for $117. We put like $20K into it. We had to sit on it for a little while because we just didn't have any our contractors weren't available. So we sat on it for a while, no problem. I actually tried to wholesale it or like wholetail it to a couple guys. I had offered to sell it for like $160. I would have made like 40 grand, 30, 40 grand just to get out of it because I wanted to put income on last year. Super happy they didn't. I called my buddy yesterday and said, thanks for not buying that deal. And, but we're at 137 all in. We listed it for 219.9, went pending, had multiple offers. We had offer up to 238. We took the one at 235. It just seemed like better terms, and they seemed like a little bit more solid. And it closed yesterday or 2 days ago, and that wire hit our account. And the best part was we used our $112,000 SBA EDIL loan that we got from the government last year, which was 30-year AM, first year, no payments, no interest accrual. And so we used that, and that was pretty cool. So really good day. Call Magic is killing it, really just growing so quickly. I have my calendar booked out for the next 45 days. I blocked some time out while I was on vacation. I only did a couple of Zoom days, but I mean, still putting guys on calls if like I think they're going to be a good fit for us. But really just that's booked out into April. So we get to be really picky about who we ask or who we let into our call center, because we want to make sure that we are having the right fit, not only for us, but for you as well. Like, we don't want to ever sell people on stuff that is not a good fit for them. We got easybuttonleads.com, which is getting up and running for lead delivery and data. That's basically in beta this week. We're testing it. We're going to start rolling out to all our clients next year, and or not next year, next week. And that's just going to be a smooth transition of delivering leads. And then we'll be able to build on that website. And so there's two businesses. There's the Call Magic, and then there's Easy Button Leads. And so, yeah, a lot of cool stuff going on in our life right now. I'm excited for this year. It feels like the dam is finally broken on lead flow. I've talked to a lot of buddies that direct mail's hitting again, and it's hitting hard. Even postcards. I talked to Mike DeHaan out of Spokane. They had like 45 leads off of postcards in like 1 week. I got guys on the East Coast that are saying it's killing it. I've had guys call me and say, hey, shut it down. We got too many leads coming in. We can't handle them all. And Tony, who you heard on the call a couple weeks ago, he's killing it. So really excited for what this year is going to bring, guys. I feel like all my hard work is really coming to fruition in a lot of ways, but it's creating a challenge that I got to work more, and I'm just having to grind. But at the end of the day, it's not really grinding because I'm loving what I'm doing right now. Like, hearing people make $100,000 from our center, and all the other ones, these guys are making 40, 50, 60 grand on these wholesale deals, and all the winning that is happening in the call center after this really hard winter with lead flow is just so rewarding at the end of the day, because we're really changing people's lives. And so I tell people all the time, like, I talked to one of our customers yesterday. He was in the month 2 out of a 3-month contract. And he's like, I have too many leads. My direct mail hit, my RVM hit, Call Magic hit, all these things. And I'm like, let's just pause it. No problem. Like, we'll just pause it. I don't need your money right now. Let's turn it back on when it's ready to go. Like, being with Tucker and Cole is, we don't care about, like, we want to make money and we want to run a good business, but we care about our clients and we want them to succeed. And we're not just going to take money to take money. And so it's such a good feeling. And then being able to do it while we're traveling is even cooler. So anyway, that's what's going on with me this week, guys. I got to get out of here. I got a 2-year-old that wants to go play on the beach, and I got a wife that wants to go shopping. And so we're going to get out of here and go do this. Hope you enjoy this week's episode. It's with Ryan Robson. He's out of Arizona. He does a ton of really cool stuff down there. He's got a company that he does signs and photography that he's going nationwide. He's launching nationwide. And it's got like really good deals to put signs up and have photos with your listings. He also buys high-end flips in Arizona. He's crushing it in Scottsdale, Phoenix, in a market that everybody says is guru essential and it's too hard to make money. He's killing it because he goes higher end. He goes upstream, just like Tucker's talked about for many, many years. Go upstream. Your competition gets so much smaller. And so really enjoyed the meeting him and the episode. And I think you guys are going to like it. So have a great day. Go do something awesome this week. Tell us about it on the Real Dealz podcast Instagram page. Tell me about it on my Instagram page, Elliott Smith REI, or the Real Dealz on Facebook. Catch you on the next one. Later.
All right, Real Dealz podcast listeners, I want to talk quickly about our show's sponsor, Ironbridge Lending. If you guys have not reached out to Ironbridge already to talk to them about funding some of your upcoming flip projects, I highly encourage you to do so. I've known the owner of Ironbridge for a very long time. I've personally borrowed millions of dollars from them over the years to do a number of different projects, and I can say without a doubt, they are the best hard money lending company I have ever come across, and that is the reason why they are the sole sponsor of this show. I've had a lot of other companies reach out to me and want to sponsor this show, but I just won't do it. I feel like I need to be genuine in who we have sponsoring the show, and it needs to be somebody that I've personally done a ton of business with. So I personally vouch for their ability to be the best, hands down, in the world of hard money lending. You won't find better programs, you won't find better terms, and they're lending or will be lending in over 20 states. So chances are, if you're hearing this in whatever state you're in, it's definitely worth it to check out their website, reach out to them, see if they're lending in your state, and if they are, I would absolutely encourage you to do business with them. Another very cool thing to note is that they have a program for most rehabs where you can actually borrow up to 90% of the purchase price. Now, this is given the fact that you are actually buying a deal, which if you're listening to the show, that means you probably are. But if you have an actual deal on the table, they'll fund up to 90% of your purchase price, and they'll even give you rehab funds on top of that, which means that it only takes 10% down to get into a project, which is unbelievable in the hard money world. So do yourself a favor, reach out to Ironbridge Lending, have a conversation with them, see if they're a good fit for you and for your next project. I can guarantee you that you'll be happy that you did.
All right, guys. Today, this call is going to be how to revive old leads and go have a conversation with a lead that you haven't followed up with for a while. So as many of you probably know right now, you're probably getting a lot of new leads, but you also probably have, if you go into your CRM, you have these things that my good buddy Ian Morrell calls them ocean leads. And so they're these leads that you haven't talked to for a while that you need to go revive and go touch. So you have tons of money sitting in your CRM if you've been doing this for a while, in your lead, from leads that you haven't touched base with for a while. And if you're ever needing to get your sales team busy, this is what you need to go do. You have them go back through your old leads and we call them ocean leads, and you go back and revive them. And this is going to be a good call of how we start the conversation up again with an old lead.
Hello?
Hi, you spoke with my back in like July about your property on.
Yeah.
I wanted to see if anything changed on the property. If maybe you can catch me up to speed. See if you're still interested in an offer on it.
I'm still getting it ready to sell. The price has been going up quite a bit because property values are going crazy.
Yeah, it's been wild.
And I kind of half stay there once in a while. But it moved in pretty much with my boyfriend because I work from home and he has the home office.
Nice. Okay.
But other than that, it's so it hasn't been really used much. And I just recently got a storage unit because I want to move things out of it and list it in the next, probably the first of the year.
Okay, you're thinking about listing the property?
Yes.
All right. So would it be out of the question to get a as is cash offer on it for you?
I would listen to one, but like I said, the value is moved up quite a bit now, and so and I've got a realtor. Well, mine's a single level, and it has a green space behind it and brand new carpet. It's only 15 years old, and it's got a very low maintenance yard. Okay. So the average price in the area is, I would say, $370-ish to $380.
Okay.
Because it's 1640 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. Okay. The other thing is I have a realtor that I worked with because my son recently bought a house and a few other people I know, and so I've got a really good rate on a realtor. So that makes it hard to come down a lot for not using a realtor.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, in a sale, if you sell on with a realtor, obviously you'll have commissions that you'll have to pay. You might be able to get the seller commission down, but the buyer side commission, you still have to pay that one. And then
but even between
costs,
the two, we're way down. And closing costs, a couple $1,000. But you know, I realize there's some money involved there, but we're not talking a lot.
Okay. How much do you want to walk away with in your pocket on this?
I don't want to go that way. If you want to make an offer, you can always make one, and I'll talk it over with my fiance. But I'm not. I don't know a lot on it either, and so.
How much is left on the mortgage?
Oh, very close to $100,000.
About 100.
But we need to buy a new home for us. He has his house, I have my house, and we're going to get in our house. So And property values, like I said, they're going up very fast. What we could have bought last year for $450 is $550. So
I know. Well, rates came down a lot, so it's helping. But that's also, rates come down, but prices go up.
But we're old and we want to buy a house for cash.
Nice. Okay.
So we sell 2, we buy 1.
Yeah, that works out, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So it sounds like right now, you're kind of the property's kind of just sitting there vacant. You're maybe just getting it ready to maybe list it. It wouldn't be impossible to get an as-is cash offer on it, but you're more leaning towards selling it with your agent friend.
Probably, because I think I'll get more money that way. The last few houses that I've seen sell that are comparable, actually, they've been getting more than their asking price.
Oh, wow.
Because, like I said, single-level homes are very hard to find.
Yeah, I don't know why. A lot of people, it seems like, they kind of like the single level. They don't want to deal with the stairs.
That's right. That's partly, that's part of why we're selling the house where I'm living now is, he's got a couple acres in Camas, and it's beautiful, but we don't want to spend our senior years going up and down the stairs.
Right, yeah. I know. After a period of time, the stairs really can become a real pain.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do you have a timeline on when you're looking to sell the place in Vancouver?
Well, I don't plan to do it over the Christmas holidays, and Washington has some lockdowns right now. But I'm saying early January, it'll be ready. I'll probably list it early February, just because I think that's when the timing will be best. Get past the holidays and a little bit, hopefully COVID will be a little bit more under control and stuff by then.
Yeah, when is this thing going to go away? Like, feels like it never ends.
Yeah, well, soon. There's a vaccine coming.
I know, but by the time they roll that thing out and everyone takes it, we'll be at the end of 2021.
Well, in the next couple of months, actually. I work in the medical industry, and we're gearing up to be able to get people. Once they start getting the vaccine out, it'll get out to the people within. It won't take any time at all. They're already setting up how to administer it.
How many vaccines are they going to be able to make?
They will have enough to do over 20 million people before the end of December, and another 40 million in January, and from there it will like triple every couple of weeks.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh well, that's kind of good news. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's coming. They have enough for 20 million doses from each of the 2 companies that have it right now, because they make it as they've been developing it, so that once it was got an approval, they could start getting it out there.
Oh, that's awesome.
And if they get it approved, they'll start doubling up how fast they make it. That's that Trump's warp speed.
What was it?
I'm supposed to say that, but it's called warp speed. President Trump. Warp speed. That's what they called it. So.
All right, so hopefully this thing will be done soon, right? And then we can get on with our lives. 3
more months. Hopefully.
3 more months. 3 more months. Okay.
That's my goal anyway. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, until 3 more months comes around, and if we're all cured and the world moves on, then I'll give you a call and say, look, we did it.
Yep, that's right. So right, but I am thinking that my house will be ready to sell within the next month, but I probably won't list it till the 1st of February.
Okay, so probably list it on the 1st of February, and then you're definitely going to use the friend for the listing agent.
I would, unless I got an offer that made it worth my while.
Okay.
But from what I've heard, most of these offers usually come in quite a bit lower, and I just don't have any need to go low because there's no work or anything that needs done.
Yeah, the cash offers, as-is cash offers, always come in lower than when you list it with an agent, because you don't pay commissions. We pay the closing costs. It's as is. We're not going to ask you for any concessions, and we obviously have to do a little work to the property, and then sometimes we keep them as rentals, or that we'll resell them. It really just depends on the
And
property
this one doesn't need any work, so that's why.
Yeah.
So there's.
All right.
I
So
mean, yes, you could come in and put in new countertops. They're not granite, and you could put in new appliances and up the value another $10,000, but you're not going to recoup it. So.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense then.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's circle back. Maybe we'll circle back with you in January, and we'll see where we're at. Maybe, hopefully the market stays where it is, and nothing else changes. And then at that time, if you want us to come up with a cash offer, we can start talking numbers. If it gets, once you get closer to really wanting to sell the place.
Oh, I'd sell it now if you give me enough money. It's just I'm waiting till then because I don't think the market is. I think that people don't buy homes in December and January.
Yeah, they usually it is when the market does slow down in December and January because the holidays.
Right. So that's the reason I'm waiting. And I just, like I said, my garage is full of stuff. My son moved about 6 months ago, but he left his stuff in the garage, and we're getting that out in the next couple of weeks because I got the storage unit now to get rid of his junk.
Okay. Well, what will it take for us to buy the property from you?
You, like I said, you make me an offer, and I'll tell you if it's within anywhere I'd be thinking. But
okay, so
you know what it's worth.
All right, so I got to go crunch numbers, you're saying?
Yep, that's right. If you got something that makes it worth my while, then I would think it through. But otherwise, I'm not going to give you something off the top of my head right now because I'd have to look again, too, because I haven't looked for a little while.
Okay. All right, so let's do that. I'll crunch some numbers. If I think I can come up with something that will work for you, I'll give you a ring back. If not, we can touch base in January.
Okay. Just so you know, my realtor said that he can get me, he could sell my house for less than 4%. I
would hope so, because 3% no matter what's going to always go to the seller's agent. The buyer's agent commission.
It's 2.5 in our area.
Okay, so 2.5 in your area. So he'll 2.5 there, and then he'll take 1.5, which is, that's a pretty good deal.
It is, but that's because I've done more work with him because my son bought a house through him, and another friend I recommended with him, and so he said, "Okay, I'll cut your deal."
Yeah, so, that's how you got to do it.
That's why I just wanted you to know that's why I think it's hard because a lot of realtors are 6%, and another 2 or 3% is a lot of money that I don't have to spend. Yeah,
I agree with you on that for sure. So let's see what happens. I'll crunch some numbers and then we'll circle back with you and we'll see what we can come up with.
Okay, thanks a lot.
No problem, Doris.
So that call was probably a little bit longer than it could have been, but Tony does such a good job building rapport and getting so much information out of the sellers. He really drills down, asks her a couple different times of what she would want or what she's kind of thinking. Even though she was kind of hard and fast, she knew this was going to go to retail probably. But she's like, well, there is some updates, and she hasn't finished everything yet. So he's like, well, maybe, if I build a good enough relationship with her, if anything does happen, she's going to call me. And so I think there's a lot to take away from this. You could probably cut this call down to maybe 6 to 7 minutes. I tend to get off the phone a little bit sooner. I probably would have got off the phone maybe 2 minutes in. But I actually sometimes think Tony, since he does have the time, does a better job and gets way more out of some of these calls than I would because I'm always so busy, go. So really, really great show. I think that you're going to get a lot out of this. So go grab your ocean leads, go call them back, go try to revive them, see what's going on. I guarantee there's some deals in your pipeline that are just waiting there for you to come get them. What's going on, Real Dealz podcast listeners? Super excited for this week's episode. Got a new friend, Ryan Robson from the Arizona market. And I don't know a ton about you, Ryan, so I'm excited as much as anything else just to find out about you. I've been following you on social media for a while, and we just happened to, you posted something about a new camera, and I'm like, hey, why don't you come on the show? And you're like, sure. So here we are a week later, and I'm like, great. So I'm going to be asking a lot of questions to figure out who you are.
I'm ready to go, man. Let's roll.
Awesome. So why don't you kind of give a little 30,000 foot view of kind of who you are, where you've been, what you're doing, and then we'll get in there from there.
Let's do it. So I have built my empire around flipping houses and buying rental properties.
I mean, that was always my goal, was to transition from residential real estate into something bigger. And at the time, I thought it would be commercial, industrial, and I ended up going a little bit of a different route. But that's kind of my background. Is I was originally an accountant, and then I got into hard money lending and worked for a hard money lender for a while. Market crash. We can go into as much detail as you want, Elliot. And then got into flipping houses and started buying rental properties and flipping, and built that empire up big enough to where I can now have the freedom to do other businesses and invest in different things.
Awesome. And so are you in Phoenix?
I am. Yeah. Phoenix, Arizona. It's still great weather right now. So we've got about 3 more months of 60, 70, 80 degree weather.
I know. I love it. We were there for a month, just November and December. We go there all the time. So, but all right. So you were doing hard money lending, and then the world fell apart in 2008, and Phoenix especially got hit really hard. And so you pivoted and said, maybe I should just go flip houses, or how'd you kind of transition into that?
Yeah, I actually lost my job in 2009 when the market just crashed, and the guy I was working for got shut down temporarily. And then I had $40,000 in the bank, and I had a buddy that was getting into loan modifications, and I convinced him to do short sales instead of loan mods. And him and I partnered up back in 2009. And in all honesty, like, we just could not have timed it better. Yeah. I mean, at that time, we thought the market was going to keep dropping, and it still did a little bit, but really end of 9, beginning of 10 was the bottom of the market in our market.
Awesome. Yeah. I tell my wife sometimes timing is everything. Everybody looks really good at a certain point, based on the market rising up, but you still built a lot of businesses, a ton of cash flow. So you still have done good things and the right things. So why don't you talk about that transition and what you had the $40,000 and you started going and buying auctions, short sales. Were you doing an agent? Were you an agent at the time, or what did you do?
So I've never been an agent. I've actually built a brokerage and sold it for 7 figures recently. So I've been involved with agency type stuff, but I just, for whatever reason, never felt comfortable getting my license. It was almost like too much liability. Like the law could treat me as if I should know better. Right. Yeah. And we were lucky enough to be doing short sales pretty heavily. And what was nice about short sales is we would get the bank to commit to a number, and then we would close 6 months later. And from 2010 to 2015, when we stopped doing them, the market was just steadily rising with different kind of ups and downs, and mostly ups during that time. So, we'd go on a contract at 80 with an appraisal at 100. And then by the time we closed, the thing was worth 110 to 120. And it just like built-in gains would happen from the time we went under contract. So it was a beautiful business from that perspective. We had very little money out, very little earnest money up. And we were doing 100 plus flips a year on short sales with no marketing at all. Yeah. And then we started buying at the auction. I was greedy back in those days. I mean, we would not buy unless we were getting like a 20% plus return on our flip. And I mean, those were just really, really good days where there were just deals left and right. And what's interesting is in 2015, 16, our referral base of short sales and the auctions all started to dry up because the big players, the institutional money, started coming into town. And we had done, I think up to that point, I don't know, 700-800 deals maybe. And we had never once sent out a postcard or we had outbound callers actually. So we did in 14, 15, we started having outbound callers for short sales. But outside of that, we had done zero traditional marketing, what the home flipper guys were doing. So we went and joined a mastermind, and we were like, we showed up, these guys had done $20-30 million of flips and had never once really done any real marketing. And we were totally just new to the idea of seller appointments and marketing. And it was just, we kind of almost started over from that perspective. So it was an interesting time in life.
Yeah, that's a pivot where a lot of people started pivoting right there is that point, 15, 16, different markets hit different inflection points. Was that Collective Genius, the one you joined?
Yeah, so I've been a part of most of the masterminds out there, whether it be in some sort, whether I've spoken at them or coached through them or just been a member of it. 7-figure flipping, Collective Genius, and Investor Fuel. And they're all great. In 2019, and I'm not sure if you know this about me, Elliot, I run an online mastermind. Are you familiar with that?
I didn't know that. I knew you ran something.
Yeah. And I just got tired. I mean, my wife, I've got 3 little kids. You met one of them right before the show.
Yeah.
And my poor wife, I mean, we had our first baby in 2012, and ever since, and he's a hard kid. And ever since then, I'm like trying to grow this massive real estate empire, working my butt off and grinding. And I know grinding is like a word you don't use in this world for some reason anymore, but I'm working really hard. And she's trying to raise, we're having baby after baby, all really close to each other. And she really had a hard time with me leaving 4 times a year to go on guys trips to go hang out with my buddies at the masterminds.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was 3 or 4 day trips. They weren't just like there and back because it's in Florida or it's in Tennessee or somewhere far, right? So I thought, there's got to be a better way. And Jamie Woolley, if you know Jamie, her and I started an online mastermind that has the high level players from all the masterminds in one place.
Okay.
That you don't have to travel for. We do a meetup once a year where everyone can get together, but it's not a required thing. And you don't have to feel obligated to, it sucks, dude, when you're missing your daughter's gymnastics meet because you're trying to travel to this mastermind that you've already spent 30 grand for,
Yeah, I get it. Trust me. We have 1 kid and I shifted last year. We kind of put the pedal down last year. Before that, I was golfing 150 rounds a year, doing 20 to 30 flips a year, working 10, 15 hours a week. And last year I was like, okay, I'm going to actually work on my business and be a family guy. And so then I ended up doing, buying 37 doors and friggin' starting a cold call company and doing all these grind development, because I'm that entrepreneur. It's like, I got to do something. And I went friggin' the bipolar extreme. Right. And so now all of a sudden my wife's like, you're working a freaking ton. And like, I was going to go to Hawaii for a minute with some buddies. And she's like, okay. But then I wanted to do another mastermind with trips with some buddies. And she's like, hey, there's gotta be some give and take here. It can't just be all about boys trips. So, all right. So you started that in 2019, and how many members do you have in that one?
We're very limited on who we let in. It's a very, it's the right word, exclusive. Like we don't just let anybody in. We're not trying to make a lot of money on it. It's $3,500 a year. It's not super expensive, but guys you probably know, Justin Colby, Brian Blankenship, Phil Green, like the big names in the industry are in it. But it's more personality type that we're looking for, guys that are more family oriented and want to grow their business. And, they're not in there just puffing their chest that they're doing 500 deals a year. And anyway. So
that's why I just joined Go Abundance for that reason, because I want to learn how to be a good father, a good husband. And it seems like there's a lot of guys in that they really focus on family. And Tucker that's how I met Tucker. He has a Deal Finders Academy. It's a very small niche group as well. But it's just more intimate that way. You meet once a year, but you can get more intimate. Some of my best friends, like I'm stuck in Seattle, and a guy I met in the DFA, I'm staying in his house and he's out of town right now. So, all right. So you were talking earlier about you were looking at doing commercial. You kind of were pivoting. You thought you wanted to do commercial and move upstream and all those things. What kind of changed, and why did you stick into the single family? And maybe we can talk a little bit about your rental portfolio and kind of how you built that and what that kind of consists of.
Yeah, I'm a believer with rentals that there are deals in any market. And it's interesting, even some of the guys in my mastermind, I probably shouldn't use names actually, but I'll get calls from some of these guys. He probably wouldn't mind. Do you know Will Hull out of Tennessee by chance? Or might be in Pennsylvania.
I don't know that name. I've known some of the guys
doing like 300 deals a year wholesales. Like the guy is just killing it. And he called me one day like, dude, I'm making $1 million a year flipping, but I have a very small rental portfolio and I just haven't been focusing on it. Like, help me. And it was really interesting to me because the guy has an operation, a transactional business that's way bigger than mine, right? Like the most I've ever done is like 120 in 1 year. And I flip and don't wholesale, but they're still transactions, right?
Yeah.
And, there are people out there, Elliot, that they'll blow your mind that are these big, huge guys in our industry, but suck at freaking passive income and rental portfolios. And I'm a firm believer that if you go audit your deals and you look at your last 10, 20, 30 deals, you're going to find some killer rentals in there that you passed up on that are going to piss you off.
Yeah.
And it's just the what's the right word? The discipline to look at every single deal as a rental first and then look at it as whatever your next strategy is, whether it's flip, wholesale, whatever you're doing afterwards, right? Subject to, that kind of deal. Always look at it as a rental first, and then look at it as a next strategy. And if you change your mindset in that way and you get your acquisition managers to look at it that way, you will build a rental portfolio just by happen chance, just from deals that you're already coming across.
Yep. I love that. We had that mindset shift about 12, 18 months ago. We had a buddy that, similar to you, bought auctions, never did any direct mail since he was 20, retired at 30. He's 42 now. And he said, everybody will look at this like, oh, worst case scenario, if it doesn't work as a flip, I'll rent it. Well, he's like, no, I actually keep the best deals that I buy and keep them as rentals, because then I have all this built-in equity and they cash flow really well. And I can, whatever. And so that really, when he started talking about that, really shifted our mindset, my wife and our mindset on that.
Yeah. So I did that, and, I got to 100 rentals. That was one of my goals. And I've got
all single family.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a little bit of multifamily,
Nothing like major multifamily, but yeah, I've got multifamily mixed in there too. A 6-plex, 4-plex here and there. And I'm netting. So I've got partnerships on some of those, some of them I own myself. I had them all free and clear, except for some of the subject twos that we owned. And I'm netting 50 grand a month, which is just freaking awesome. So, that goes down and up just depending on, I'll use the free and clear rentals and I'll leverage them to do other deals. So I just bought two brand new businesses that were outside of the real estate flipping world. And I leveraged my rentals to buy those businesses. So now I own the businesses free and clear. And it's nice because you can get really good debt for really cheap. I got like 3% interest on real estate, where like business debt's hard to come by.
Yeah, that's a great point. Let's dive into that a little bit more, because again, I'm seeing a lot of similarities here. My wife and I have thought the same thing about paying off rentals, because then we always have a baseline, right? We can always live. But then, so are you taking, like, say, a handful of those paid off rentals and going and putting a portfolio loan on them as an asset, like a HELOC asset on those to then go buy the businesses? Or are you actually putting 30-year AMs on those properties?
Depends. So I'll never be more than 40% leverage. Like, this is where I go into, like, back to my comment about look at rentals and flips. You got to know your freaking numbers. Like, you just have to know, if it meets this criteria, I hold it every time. And similar, you got to have rules that you live by. I mean, my wife and I will never be more than 40% leverage to current value of a rental portfolio. And that's just something we've dealt with. We keep our personal home free and clear, and then our rentals are our retirement. Mm-hmm. And I can use the rentals to flip real estate, to do whatever the heck I want in business without my kind of wife's additional approval, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
As long as I stay below 40%. And it allows me to use those free and clear rentals. And the reason I do that is because once I hit 40%, like, I start dropping below 30,000 a month, or depending on what the interest rate is at that 40%, right? That could go down further. And there's just this, like, we could live on $10,000 a month comfortably for the rest of our lives feeling. Mm-hmm. So as long as we have 20 coming in, no matter what, we're safe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you can still go to Disneyland with the kids. You can still go do vacations. You can do whatever the hell you want. And it's funny because you're kind of where we're close. We could be done right with our rentals right now, what we have going right now, but I want to grow. We were just talking this weekend. We were in Palm Springs about, okay, let's pay these, this down, this, and like what we need 20,000 a month would be like comfortable. I was hoping, goal is 30 to 40, right? But then, where are you at now? So did your wife ever work in the business with you, or has she kind of been more of a mom, or how's that structure work?
She is an amazing mom that doesn't love being a mom. And, she's sacrificed so much to be a mom. She doesn't work. She probably makes, on a good year, 50 grand a year in real estate. On a bad year, 20 grand, just from family and friends that buy real estate. So she's an agent. And, it's not her primary deal. She does it on the side. She'll help me with some of my flips when I need it. But really, she's a mom full time. I mean, that's her deal. She loves passive income, though. She went out and found this guy named Jason who does group homes. Yeah. And he pays us really freaking well and is a long-term tenant, and will put bunch of money down as an option to buy it back from us within a certain amount of time. And I mean, the deals are just, they're at like 40-50% returns. I mean, they're just crazy deals. So, you know, she'll structure that, and she gets her brother to get the loan, and it puts it in his name. And like, I kind of try to stay out of her stuff. And we've always just had this in our agreement in our marriage that like, I will help you a little bit, but I'm cheating on my real estate business if I help you too much. And that was easier to have that mentality when I had a business partner, because really I'd be cheating on my business partner. Right.
Yeah.
And going out and doing a bunch of personal rentals, which I just felt I'm a very loyal person, and try to be as ethical as I can from that perspective. And it's just kind of flowed. Now that I don't have a business partner, it's flowed into that, where she kind of does her real estate deals on the side and will ask me for help here and there, but she's responsible for those.
Nice. What businesses did you go buy this? You said you just went and bought 2 businesses.
Yeah. So this is kind of crazy. I went under contract on a real estate photography business. So I do real estate photography for realtors and drones, videos. Yeah. What really sets us apart, Elliot, is we do the signs, posts, and lockboxes plus the photography.
Gotcha.
And I can't find nationwide. I can't find another real estate photography business that also does signs, posts, and lockboxes for agents.
Yeah.
And while I was under contract with one of them, and this guy was doing $20,000 a year, I contacted the second one, and it was the biggest competitor. And I just said, "Hey, would you be interested in selling?" And he said yes. And I honestly, like, I was blown away that both the biggest competitors in one market were willing to sell. Neither one of them knew about each other, which was the pain in the ass during that process. And I ended up closing on both of them. And now I've been working on merging them, and just all the issues with, not only do you have an issue when you buy a business with employees and keeping people and quitting and just not change of ownership, I'm dealing with that 2 different companies that all moved into one location and are trying to live together. So it's been pretty hectic the last 2 months.
So like, where's your efficiencies? And everybody's like worried, like, oh, we're the same. So am I going to lose my job? Am I going to,
totally.
How many employees did you inherit?
100.
Oh, so they're not, you said $20,000 a year on one, but you,
no. Yeah. 20,000 houses a year.
Oh, houses a year. Holy moly. How many?
Yeah. So we now shoot 40,000 houses a year with the one company.
Wow. Now, were they already doing the signs and lock boxes into it prior?
Yeah.
Okay.
Both of them were. Yeah. So now it's the only game in town that's doing that. So we're out there having fun, and we're going to try to take this. It's called Rocket Lister. We're going to try to take Rocket Lister national and go into every market. You said you're in Washington, right? What market are you in?
I'm in Eastern Washington, Tri-Cities, and then also Vancouver, Washington, just outside of Portland. So I live in the east side, but we started investing in Vancouver.
Probably a long time till we go there. Redfin's one of our big clients, and they're wanting us to go to Seattle. But, you know, we're in Utah, Vegas. We're opening up in Atlanta, Dallas, and Houston soon. So we're really trying to grow this thing nationally.
Nice. Yeah. I just had a buddy. I have a lot of friends in Seattle because I speak up there quite a bit. But they just sold their brokerage, like 85-person brokerage, to Compass. Just got bought out by Compass because they're buying brokerages like crazy.
Yeah. We sold our brokerage back in 2019.
Okay. How big was that brokerage that you had?
We were doing 30. It was a flat fee business. So we did flat fee listings for $3,000, full service flat fee. Nice. And we were doing about 30 listings a month, to give you perspective, and had roughly 5 agents underneath us. But it was really the volume that we were able to do that the person was interested in buying us.
Okay. So let me ask you this. So you're in Phoenix, Scottsdale, home of the Guru, home of the, Open Door, OfferPad, Zillow. It seems like whenever they want to test something or anybody wants to take a picture of their Rolls Royce or a fancy jet, they're in Phoenix. And so I was just reading an article this morning about Open Door, OfferPad. What have you seen with them once they came into the market and they're expanding and things like that, and the Redfins, got into it? And where do you see that going? Because they're not making money. And so where do you see this real estate investor agent business going over the next 10 years?
So all of them are my clients, and I can't say names, but I was meeting with one of them, and it was a really funny conversation because it was, talking about pricing of photography. And they basically said, well, if we get our next round of funding, we really don't care what the price is. And it was just, that's their mentality. They're just not trying to make a profit right now. And their goal is to just take market share and take market share and take market share.
I think the person to watch out for is Zillow. I think that's the scariest of them all. They have more data than the other one. So it's all about who has access to the most data. And Zillow just purchased Showing Time. Are you familiar with that?
I saw that 500
So
million or whatever.
Lots of drama out there around that in the real estate agent world. And secretly, I think Zillow is going to open a brokerage and start competing against agents here really, really soon. They're already competing against flipping. I mean, when I was advertising pretty hard on PPC to do flips, I mean, I can't tell you how many calls I got like, oh, can you compete against Zillow or an Open Doors offer? Well, no, just hang up the phone and you just can't compete, right? So
they were buying 800. I heard a year ago they were buying 800 homes a month at one point between the two of them, in the Phoenix market.
It's crazy. It's super competitive. I mean, I've transitioned into the higher level market here in Phoenix, and I love it because it allows me to run so I have a cabinet business, I have the mastermind, I've got other businesses that I run, I flip in other states, and the way I'm able to still flip in Arizona and make $1 million a year, because usually we try to get to $1 million, and then we try to buy enough rentals to cost seg that down to zero for tax purposes. And that's a whole nother podcast and show.
Yeah, totally.
And, I really try to net zero on my flipping business, but the way I'm able to do that and still do other things is I'm buying, like I just went under contract on one today for $950,000 in Scottsdale, but we're going to put $200,000 into it and flip it for 1.5, just to give you perspective. My sweet spot is about a $600,000 to $700,000 purchase, put 200 into it and flip it for about 1.2 to 1.3. But those deals net 200 to 300,000 a pop, sometimes 150 if we do something wrong. But dude, what I love about it is when I was flipping 100 deals a year, because so many things went wrong, we ended up really making 12,000 of profit instead of that 25 we were seeking. Like crap just always went wrong when you're doing volume every time on flipping. And it was frustrating. It was like, man, it's like we're making like 5% on the deal. Like we might as well just be the dang realtors on these dang deals.
Yeah.
And, get into real estate and do volume. And, it was eye-opening for me to do higher level properties, higher end properties. It has its risks, but, making 200,000 a pop, you only need to do 6 or 7 of those a year and you make good money.
Yeah. Good. I have a good buddy that flips in Scottsdale, and he was getting started and he was trying to go in that entry level market. Well, then he got some coaching from Tucker, and Tucker's like, you got to go above 400,000 that's kind of where the cutoff for Open Door, OfferPad, Zillow was at the time or whatever. And he started going in that higher end $400,000 to $700,000 market, and he started killing it, and he started doing really, really well because nobody was playing in that, ball field, because every guru and everybody's telling people, go send out mass mailers to these price entry level. And you can't in those markets because you're competing with the guys that you're never going to win. I mean, unless it's a massive rehab, right?
You want to know the secret, Elliot?
What's that?
I literally buy off the MLS in that market. That's how open that sandbox is. Like I don't even have to send out mailers. I don't have to market. I don't have to go on appointments. It's just that easy as I buy off the MLS.
I can see that because Tucker's move. I think Tucker might be going down there to build. He's a high-end spec builder in Lake Oswego. Very similar price points to Paradise Valley. And so we were looking, and they have all those dated, these houses that look like your grandmother just died in them. They're from the 90s, and you spruce them up a little bit. And I have a good buddy that's a real estate broker. They actually said the market above $1 million in the Phoenix metro area is safer than the under $1 million is what they felt like.
Dude, it's so freaking hot. Like I just got somebody that I don't think this house will appraise for more than 1.15. And they just wrote a contract before I'm even listing it for 1.25, waiving appraisal contingency, like $100,000 more than I thought I was going to sell for. What I think it'll actually appraise for.
Yeah.
Just nuts, dude. It's just so freaking hot right now in Phoenix. And we got all these people from California coming over that, they're selling their houses for $2 million and buying a nicer house for 1.2.
Yeah. So do you think the Open Door, OfferPad, Zillow model is something that can work long-term?
I do. Yeah. I think they're smart enough to figure it out. I mean, you got guys that are just way smarter than you and I running the ship over there. And as long as the money is there behind them, I'm just telling you, these guys they have the data to figure it out. That's the problem you and I have. And they have the money to figure it out for a long period of time.
But I think it's the same thing you ran into with your 100 houses a year I see their problem not on the buy side and the money side, but the contractor side. That's where I see the problem is scaling out the contractor side of it.
Yeah. And it all comes down to who has the better people. And, I've seen, because I own the cabinet company, we sell cabinets to a lot of these guys also, not just do their photography. And you see one of the groups that the project managers are just a pain in the butt and they like to fight you. And then you see another group that treats you really well. Even when there's a problem, they're willing to sit down and work it out with you. And, my dad's been building houses in Phoenix for 40 years now. And he's just never been in lawsuits. He's never been in any issues with any of these subs, and they treat him well because he treats them well. So whoever, in my opinion, I mean, they don't need my advice, Elliot.
Yeah.
They're smart guys, but Open Door, OfferPad, Zillow, whoever figures out the people issue is going to win the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's what's the issue is going to be. Same on the, some of these listing sides too, is that once they can figure out how they can get people to do it all online and still have that relationship where people trust, like making the biggest purchase of their life, right? Once they figure that side of it out, it's done. I figured in a lot of ways, right? So, nice. All right. So what's next for you? What do you, other than you're growing this, this photography business, is that your focus right now, or what's exciting?
That's my passion right now, because we're merging the companies and growing it nationally. So I'm passionate about that, and it's just fun. I'm really enjoying running a business where flipping houses, I ran it as a business. And a lot of you guys listening, if you don't run it as a business, you're just not going to make as much money. I mean, literally systems, processes, meetings, huddles. I mean, you got to be doing all that kind of stuff, holding people accountable. I mean, those are all things that you should be doing in your flipping business. And so I'm passionate about that. I'm having fun with the mastermind, but really it's funny. I wrote a bio the other day, Elliot, and I wrote on there, and it just came to my mind. I mean, it's probably something stupid, but I wrote on there, Ryan is a family man and world traveler before a businessman. Or Ryan, I said something like that. Like Ryan puts family and travel before business. And I try to live my life like that. And I went and traveled. Sorry, a text message came through and it distracted me, Elliot. I went in 2019, which is good. I made this goal at 19 and not 20. In 19, I set a goal to travel 120 days. And what's crazy is I made more money in 19 than any year I'd ever made money in 19 by getting myself out of the details and forcing me to hire high quality people to step in and run things. And it was fun, dude. I went to Egypt and Italy and Portugal and Jamaica and Hawaii. And I just did really cool trips. And my kids and family came with me most of the trips and just had such a freaking blast. And we were going to do it again in 20, but then COVID hit. And it's just kind of hard to do that right now. But I love traveling. I love living life. I went to the World Cup and Wimbledon within 2 days of each other. I mean, how cool is that?
That's awesome. Yeah. We're on the same page. We love to travel. I just got back from Palm Springs. We're leaving in 6 days to go to Key West for 3 weeks.
There you go.
So now does your wife, how do you handle, because our kids too, so he's not in school yet. So if you're traveling 120 days, are you homeschooling the kids? What are you guys doing with the kids?
So luckily we had one kid in school and two that weren't. So it was a lot easier. And a lot of the travel is we're gone all summer, right? And then spring break and fall break and then winter break. So some of that's in there, but during the year, there's some guide trips that I do in there. And then we do pull my kid was in first grade. So it was easy to pull him out of school. Ironically, during COVID, it'd be a great time to travel because they're online. My problem is my wife, and I am too, we're just totally anti-mask, not from the perspective of we don't believe in helping people and whatever, but if we're going to be on vacation, I just don't want to have a mask on the whole time. Does that make sense? So ignoring the politics of it for a second, I just don't want to be on vacation with the mask on the whole time. At home, I can at least take it off. But when you go to a hotel and every time you walk out of your hotel room, someone's yelling at you, put your mask on. That's not vacation for me.
No. Yeah. I was walking through the Seattle airport and I have heard people double masking, right? But I hadn't seen anybody because I live on the east side of the state, totally different side of the state than Seattle. And I'm walking, nobody's around me. This guy walks, I have my mask under my nose because I don't like wearing it. And this guy's like, put your mask over your nose. And I'm like, oh my God, like, dude, just like, you do you, bro. I just like, I get it. I want to, but when I'm in line, I respect people. You know, if I'm close to people, I want to be respectful. But I agree with you. And it's not, you know, I don't want to hurt anybody, but I agree with what you're saying. Take the politics.
Yeah, it's just from a traveling perspective, like ignoring politics, and I say politics, ignoring how you feel about the coronavirus. It's like we're looking at going to Costa Rica, and we'll call the resort down there and be like, hey, what's your mask policy? You know, and how do you guys feel about us not wearing them while we're there, if we're swimming and we're doing different things? And, you know, so we'll kind of, we're booking a trip to Costa Rica soon, but it's really limited. I mean, dude, I've got freaking first class free tickets to Europe that expire here in the next few months. And it's like, I can't go, you know, like Europe's closed and it doesn't make sense to go. So I'm excited for this to get over so I can travel again.
I'm really concerned about my 2-year-old. I just don't want him to grow up in an environment where they live in fear of a disease or not getting dirty and all this constant. I don't think, and let me know your thoughts on that too. I just don't want it to become the new normal for my son, right? I want him to they're supposed to get dirty. They're supposed to play with other kids. They're supposed to do all those things. And I just think it's kind of hard at that point. That's the struggle that I'm having.
Dude, I feel ya. And I mean, the other flip side of that is I don't want my kids growing up thinking that, you know, dad has all this money. And, you know, as they get older, we're going to start traveling down to Roatan, places like that have like really cool beaches, but then we're going to go inland to Honduras and San Pedro Sula and these different places that have orphanages. And we're going to do more like kind of like fun and charity. Like we might go hike Machu Picchu as a family, but also spend time building a house for somebody in Peru. We're like,
that's awesome. Yeah.
You know, build that kind of thing with the kids. I mean, dude, parenting's a whole like,
we could do a whole podcast on that.
Yeah. And it's something we focus on in our mastermind. And I love that you're in a mastermind like that, because it's hard to be a good dad. You know, it really is. It's been, I mean, one of my biggest failures in life was parenting my first child the wrong way. And, you know, I've corrected that, but it's really, really hard. It's hard to drive at work and deal with the stress of work and employees and losing money and issues with deals, and then come home and have a 2-year-old, you know, throw poop all over the place and scratch the wall and
or just wants to play with you. Just wants wants your time.
He wants attention. Yeah. And you're taking phone calls and your wife's yelling at you because she's trying to make dinner and the kids getting into things and you're on a phone call. Like that's real life stuff, dude. And,
and that's
it's funny, like
is being in the moment. And like, he'll actually like come and hit the phone out of my hand in the evenings and be like, done. And it's like, you know, you and me both. I mean, we never go more than, you might as well just tie these things to our hands, right? Or our ears. It's just, that's the hard part that I'm struggling with, is that balance.
It's really hard. Yeah, no, that's probably one of my biggest failures in life is not having that proper balance. And it's why we decided like, hey, let's just travel 120 days this year, really focus on our family and just have a good time and have this be that year. And coronavirus is good for our family too. I think it really helped us commit to being a better parent and committing better, you know, my wife and I, every single year we go to Park City or somewhere like that. And we go skiing with our kids the first week of January, and we get a babysitter, and her and I go to dinner and we spend 2 or 3 hours and we make goals for the next year. And they're all spiritual, parenting, traveling, charity. And we try to create kind of family goals like that. And I mean, just stupid ones. Like I say stupid, but ones you probably wouldn't think of. Like when we hug our kids, we're going to hug them for a minimum of 5 seconds. You know, just things like that we try to like, you know, to remind ourselves of, to be a better parent. But what I've noticed, Elliot, is I take home to my work with me more than I take work home with me.
Gotcha.
The stresses of my home life affect me more at work than the stresses at work affect me at home. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And committing, once I realized that, and committing myself to having a good home life and having a wife that's on board and me on board with her and having a plan, I've done so much better in business because of it.
Yeah, I can see that 100%. All right. Well, let's shift gears here, kind of end it up. We got one segment, we call it the Real Deals segment. So it was just a deal that you can talk about, and whether it's you made the most money or whatever. Not to be a flashy, it doesn't seem like you're a flashy guy at all. So what is one deal that you've had over your career that you've learned the most off of? And it can be a business buy or a real estate deal, if you want to.
Ooh. Let's see. Real estate deal. I don't know if this is a good one or not, but you know, I definitely, I bought a house. I should know the street. I could drive you there.
Yeah.
And I budgeted 40. We ended up spending 80 because we didn't manage it properly. But more importantly is the freaking comp across the street sold for 650. I still remember it to this day. And we bought ours for like 490 or 500, somewhere in there. And we ended up selling it for 525. And like at the end of the day, we had like $100,000 loss after all the costs and commissions and going over budget on construction. And I just wasn't disciplined. Going back to like knowing your numbers, like you got to set your criteria and stick with it in your market. Like there were power lines in the distance, not kind of close to the house, and it backed a busy road. Now, to my defense, there was a good like 30, 40 yards before the busy road. So I was like, that's far enough. But man, like it's just, we had committed not to buy on busy roads and not to buy near power lines. And there was this comp across the street and there's no way that's going to take that big of a hit. And it's amazing how sometimes those houses will take a lot bigger hit than you realize. And like an appraiser would give you a hit for example. So that was a huge learning lesson. I remember that deal. And I just, every time I've ever bought on a busy road or ever bought in power lines, I end up not making as much as I was going to, or I lose money. The second one is historic districts. I suck at historic districts. So I think that's the Encanto. I could tell you that deal. Yeah. I bought that one while I was in Jamaica, 309 West Encanto. And I FaceTimed the guy. I felt good about it. We could definitely do this thing for 60 grand. I mean, it ended up costing us like 130. We lost money on it. Every time I've ever bought a deal in the historic district, it just takes way more work than I thought it was going to.
Now, let me ask you.
Those are the real deals. I lose a lot of money too.
Yeah. Were those deals where you were pressing because you like needed deals to keep your crews busy, or were you just like, or was this like, oh, it's just another machine and you just kind of, brain fart or whatever? Because usually what happens, it seems like when you start pressing, because your rules change, right? Like you don't stick to your things. So you're like, I need a deal to keep my crews busy. So this one will work.
It really comes from my personality, which really comes back to bite me oftentimes, which is I want to win. It's the reason I don't wholesale. Like I hate leaving money on the table. I just hate it. It bothers me. So I could figure out construction. If that's the problem, the hurdle is figuring construction out. I can figure that out and I get more money. Let's do it. Yeah. And so, I mean, that's just my personality issue. So when I see a deal, I have a hard time saying no to deals. So both those deals seem like killer freaking deals and it had nothing to do with my crews. It was just my issue of trying to freaking make money on deals and realizing that I did not stick to my guns. And I mean, it's very similar, like bidding at the auction. I am the worst person to be bidding at the auction because I get competitive. I can hear the guy on the other line, like 100 more. I'm like, oh, freaking my number stopped $500 ago. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I got to beat this guy. 100 more. And I keep going because I want to beat this freaking guy. I'm tired of him bidding against me and I want to beat him out. And I'm like, I can sell this for more. I can do the construction for less. And you start like your principles go out the freaking window.
Great and competitive. Like you just have to win.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot to that though, with growing all these businesses. You're competitive and you're competing. It's like, you could be done right now, but why do you keep going? Well, money's a scoreboard. It's family. You can grow more. You can give more. You can do more. It's not like you're out there buying bigger houses. Your house still living in the same paid off house, right? So I think that speaks a lot to where people are at a certain level in business, and you just get competitive. I mean, that's why Elon Musk thrive, right?
And it's not even money anymore for me. Like we still live on $10,000 a month. Like we're not paying ourselves more because I'm making more. My wife hates it, but like our lifestyle isn't changing that much. Don't get me wrong. Like we're building a nice custom house for our family. That's going to be like our family legacy house. And some of that money's going towards that. Right. But the reality is, I do a fun podcast, not to like, it's called the Freedom Blueprint. Yeah. No, you're fine. I mean, I'm not even trying to promote it, to be honest with you, because it's just something that two of my buddies and I get together and do a podcast on. And it's just three of us sitting around a table talking. It's called the Freedom Blueprint Show. And, we both John Carcone and Gabe Garcia that are on there with me, they were giving me a really hard time when I went under contract on these businesses because I had made it from a passive income perspective and I could retire. And now what they don't understand is, one, I wouldn't be happy because I'm not doing something I'm passionate about and it's fun if I retire. But two, I mean, what the heck am I going to do? If you retired right now, do you know what your wife's going to say? Hey, you can finally help me do dishes and do the laundry. And she's not going to let you just go do golf every day.
I know.
So you can't just like go do hobbies all day long and like, all right, honey, I'm leaving at 5, be back at 5, 8, be back at 5, have fun. She'd be like, no, pick up the kids. You don't have work. Go pick up the kids from school. Go do this. Go run this errand.
Go to the zoo.
Yeah. So my whole day would just be filled with doing chores for my wife. And I'm just not ready for my wife to be my full boss full time. I get at least a break from, 7 till 5 every day from that. So, that's part of the reason that drives me to keep working.
Nice. All right. So why don't you tell, since you are, because we have a lot of people doing real estate. So what cities are you in currently with your photography business? And what is that like? Say you had a mid-level house, median house, and you were going to get hired out to do that. What would that cost somebody in, let's just say Phoenix, to do the sign, the lockbox, the pictures, the whole works?
Yeah, we're about $160 to do all of that. That's probably what most people are paying for just photos, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we pay like $125 just for photos usually.
Yeah, so we do the sign, and then we do also, in many markets, we do the MLS entry, which is a pain in the butt for people. So we'll input the whole MLS for you, all the details of that. We're anywhere from 150 to 200, just depending on the size of the house and the market you're in. But, for those of you doing real estate out there, like treat real estate as a tool to do other things. Most people that I know, I give you about a 10-year window if you're going to do it and get as much as you can. Most of the guys I know, the Alex Pardos who just retired from flipping and wholesaling, Gabe Garcia's and the John Carcones, the 10 years is about the mark where people start to feel like, all right, I'm burnt out of this. I got to do something else.
I'm burnt out now on flipping. That's why we're doing other stuff. I'm passionate now about the call center and the data business and doing some development. We're going to build a 13 unit and do some other development and raising money. I'm finding some passion. Flipping's a tool, I think, in a lot of ways. Like, I don't need to be on HGTV. So cool. So what's the name of your data company, or you're not data, your company that does the pictures?
Rocket Lister is the real estate photography company.
Awesome. All right. Well, and where can people find out more about you?
Look, I'm really active on Facebook, but the real Ryan Robson is my Instagram handle. And, I'm starting to do a lot more stuff on there. So it's a great place to connect with me.
Awesome. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on today, and hopefully our listeners enjoyed this. I know I enjoy getting to know you, and hopefully we can connect when I'm in Scottsdale next time.
Anytime, brother. I look forward to it.
All right. Thanks.